The Sport Report on IM says, calling it now, Pritzker 2024. Seriously. No, he's not a leftist dream, but he's actually carried out what he ran on and has done some good in Illinois. I mean, they're going to be fishing around, I have a feeling.
Yeah,
Democrat.
actually, Chapo had an interesting pro-Pritzker take recently that, which was interesting. People might want to check out. That might have been on the Patreon episode, but yeah, I'd buy that.
I mean, has Biden said anything about his decision?
Biden said that he's running. I mean, but of course he's going to. And go ahead.
Sorry, Sam. I was just saying that this Times piece came out that he was kind of like bristling at like the amount of skepticism about him running again. And speaking of Pritzker's made a few like presidential stops. Like he went to New Hampshire, and apparently Pritzker's press people before he went preemptively reached out to Biden's people and were like, "Don't worry, he's not going to primary you." So they're which they appreciated, but they're definitely, I think, a little twitchy about people not being like, "Oh, Biden's definitely running in 24."
They should.
Oh, I would say Pritzker's people reaching out to Biden saying we're definitely not going to primary you is tantamount to their announcement that they're going to primary.
Yeah.
I mean, but I would say that, look, the bet that everybody's making right now, and understand this is the way that this develops, and I've seen people make the decision to run for something. And usually they make the decision, and short of like, you know, a nuclear bomb, they're going to figure out a way in which all the pieces are going to fall together in a way that signals to them they should run. Right now, they're all setting themselves up for Biden to not run on his own. They're not necessarily. They're also hedging their bets with a potential for a primary. But I think, like, you know, it would be malpractice not to go out there and lay the groundwork, assuming that Biden's not going to run. And I don't know, people like we commented on this earlier in the week. They sent Kamala Harris out there with big nothing burger in terms of responding to what are you doing with abortion. And then they sort of like undercut her a little bit, like a day or two later when they're like talking about the filibuster or this and that. That's a tough position to put somebody into, like being like, let's put you out there. You'll be the test balloon. And if you come back completely deflated, then we know. But it's not necessarily protecting her on some level. I wonder if it's their way of like keeping her, you know,
Well, they're either keeping her sidelined or they're putting her in tough positions, and she has not yet risen to the occasion. Like, that's another layer of frustration I have with this administration is if, you know, Biden ran on, I'm just here to even the scales, correct the damage that Donald Trump did. It would have been nice if he picked somebody who wasn't completely built in a lab by Democratic donors and has zero appeal to regular people and has difficulty communicating issues on a very basic level, has no talent on the stump. Like, it might have been a better idea to put someone in. Anybody else that he was considering, I feel like would have been an improvement over this. Especially if Biden doesn't have the ability to communicate in the way that he once did, which is the truth, frankly. Like, it would have been helpful for there to be another member of the administration to be there, except what I hear, and Matt's heard this too from people who don't cover politics, is where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? Where's Biden? They're invisible to folks.
Well, if I'm the Biden people, I also don't necessarily want, at this point, people like an obvious slam dunk, people going like, the vice president should be running in 2024. And if But they
don't even have that option because she's not good enough for that. Well, she does not have the talent to I mean, they don't understand that. But
but I'm saying that sending her out there to answer questions, she's not freelancing. She's not in a position to come up with answers in that moment that haven't been discussed. I mean, people should understand that. I mean, maybe
I know.
Maybe there are better ways for her to respond to that, but she's going out there and she's been told, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing that. We're not doing this. And she's going out there with nothing. But that's her job because they're making it her job. And all I'm suggesting is that if I'm the Biden White House, I don't want a super popular vice president right now who's out there showing how competent she is, because that's going to raise the temperature on people saying don't run. And so I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but that's probably what they're doing. Like,
I think they also see her as a liability. I think they see somewhat of there's some weird stuff about who's running the show with her sister, all that. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if there's.
Let me put it this way.
They're in love with her.
She does not sit down. She does not get to choose that she's going to sit down for those interviews without it coming out that she wasn't authorized to do that. And so if she's in that situation, I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, and I think your criticism of her is warranted, but they could also be exacerbating the situation, if you know what I mean.